The mirror hit him so hard, he didn't even have time to scream. One moment, he was walking home from school, books clutched to his chest. The next, he was face down in a puddle, his papers floating in muddy water, blood trickling from his knee. And they laughed. This is a story of how cruelty tried to break a boy, and instead, forge a man who would change everything. Let's go back to that day. Marcus was 10 years old, walking home from Jefferson Elementary like he did every day. His backpack was heavy, not just with books, but with dreams. Dreams his mother whispered to him every night before bed. "Baby, your father may be gone, but his legacy lives in you. He believed you could be anything. So do I." Marcus was the best student in his class. Not because it came easy, but because while other kids played video games, he studied by candlelight when the electricity got cut off. While others complained about homework, he saw it as his ticket out. But success is a way of making you a target, especially when there's a boy like Derek Thompson in your class. Derek's father owned 3 car dealerships in town. Their house had a pool. Derek wore a different designer sneaker every week. And Derek's father had one obsession. His son had to be the best. At everything. Always. So when Marcus kept beating Derek on every test, every quiz, every assignment, Mr. Thompson took it personally. "That boy," he'd mutter at parent-teacher conferences, glaring at Marcus's name at the top of the honor roll. "There's no way he's smarter than my Derek. No way." That Tuesday afternoon, Marcus never saw it coming. Derek was in the passenger seat of his father's brand new Mercedes.
Exactly.
They were driving slowly
know,
down
right?
the street, Marcus's street, when Mr. Thompson spotted him. "There he is," Mr. Thompson said, his voice cold. "The little genius." Marcus looked up, gave a small wave. He thought they were classmates, maybe even friends. The side mirror clipped him perfectly, hard enough to send him sprawling, his backpack flying open, his book scattering into the pothole filled with rainwater. Pain exploded in his knee. His palms were scraped raw. His white shirt, the only school shirt he owned, was covered in mud and blood. And then the window rolled down. Father and son, looking down at him like he was nothing, like he was dirt. "Looks like you're not so smart now, are you?" Derek laughed. Mr. Thompson just smirked, put the car in drive, and pulled away. Marcus sat there in that puddle, 10 years old, bleeding, humiliated, and broken. Not because of the pain, but because for the first time in his life, he understood something terrible. Some people will hate you just for being excellent when they think you have no right to be. His mother knew something was wrong the moment he walked through the door. "Marcus, baby, what happened?" He tried to hold it together, tried to be strong. But when she pulled him into her arms, he shattered. "Mama, they hit me. Derek and his dad. They hit me with their car and they laughed." She held him tight, her own tears falling into his hair. They cried together on their worn-out couch in their small apartment. 2 people who'd lost so much already. "Baby, look at me," she finally whispered, tilting his face up. "Do you know why they did that?" He shook his head. "Because you scare them. Your intelligence, your potential, your light, it exposes their emptiness. People who have everything except character will always try to destroy those who have nothing except dignity. But here's what you need to remember. My son, you don't need their approval. You don't need their acceptance. You just need to keep being brilliant. Because one day, the same people who tried to break you will need what only you can give them." "What's that, Mama?" "Grace." The next 3 years were the hardest of Marcus's life. He studied harder, pushed deeper. Every time he wanted to quit, he remembered that puddle, that laughter, that feeling of powerlessness, and he transformed it into fuel. Derek and his father tried everything. Mr. Thompson complained to the principal that Marcus must be cheating. He hired private tutors for Derek. He even tried to get Marcus transferred to another school. None of it worked, because you can't buy what Marcus had. Hunger, purpose, a mother's prayers, and a dead father's dreams pushing him forward. Graduation day, 8th grade, Jefferson Elementary auditorium. Marcus sat in the front row in a suit his mother had saved for 6 months to buy. It was slightly too big, but he wore it like armor. Derek sat 3 rows back with his father, both wearing custom-tailored designer suits, both wearing identical expressions of entitlement. Principal Rodriguez stepped to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to announce our academic awards. This year, we had a student who achieved something unprecedented in our school's 47-year history. One student earned the highest grade in 7 out of 11 subjects: history, mathematics, science, English, social studies, computer science, and art. Mr. Thompson leaned forward, nudging Derek. "That's you, son. That has to be you." The recipient of 7 academic excellence awards, Marcus Johnson. Marcus stood up, legs shaking. His mother was already crying in the audience, hands clasped in prayer. He walked to that stage and accepted 7 certificates, 7 medals, 7 standing ovations. Derek sat frozen in his seat. Mr. Thompson's face turned red, then purple. His fist clenched so tight his knuckles went white. "This is ridiculous," he hissed. "We're going to the board. We're going to—" "You're going to what?" his wife whispered sharply. "Accept that another child worked harder than yours." Derek received nothing that day, not because he wasn't smart, but because he'd been taught that the world owed him success, while Marcus had learned that success is something you earn in the dark when no one's watching. 15 years later, Marcus stood in front of a glass building in downtown Atlanta, its 40 floors gleaming in the morning sun. On the top floor, his name was etched in gold letters: Johnson Technologies, Marcus Johnson, founder and CEO. It hadn't been easy. Scholarships to college, student loans he'd only just finished paying off, sleeping in his car during his startup's first year, eating ramen for dinner more nights than he could count. But he'd made it. His company designed educational software that helped underprivileged kids access quality learning. It was valued at $340 million. He employed 200 people, and he'd never forgotten where he came from. His assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Mr. Johnson, your 10 a.m. interview is here. Derek Thompson for the software engineer position." Marcus's hand froze on his coffee cup. Derek Thompson. It couldn't be. Send him in. Derek walked in wearing an off-the-rack suit, his resume clutched in trembling hands. He was thinner now, older. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something Marcus recognized immediately: desperation. Their eyes met. Derek's face went pale. The resume slipped from his fingers and scattered across the floor. "Marcus." His voice cracked. "Marcus Johnson." "Hello, Derek. Please, sit down." Derek didn't move. He just stood there, tears already forming. I didn't know. I didn't know this was your company. I swear, Derek, sit down." Derek collapsed into the chair, his hands shaking. "Do you remember the last time we saw each other?" Marcus asked quietly. Derek's head dropped. "Yes." "Tell me what you remember." "My dad. We hit you with a car. The mirror. You fell. We laughed at you." Tears were streaming down his face now. "Marcus, I was a kid. I was stupid. I was cruel. You were more than cruel. Derek, you were complicit. You sat in that car and watched your father teach you that people like me were worth less than the dirt on your tires." "I know," Derek whispered. "I know, and I've regretted it every day since." Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying the broken man in front of him. "What happened to you, Derek? Your father's dealerships, the money, the privilege. What happened?" "Dad lost everything in 2019. Bad investments. Worse decisions. The dealerships went bankrupt. He couldn't handle it. Started drinking. My parents divorced. I dropped out of college because we couldn't afford it anymore. I've been working retail jobs, trying to teach myself coding online. This is my chance to start over. But I understand if you—" "Stop," Marcus said quietly. "Let me tell you what I learned that day you and your father hit me with that car. Derek, I learned that cruelty is a choice, and so is grace. I learned that success isn't about stepping on others. It's about rising despite those who try to keep you down. I learned that the people who hurt you when you're powerless often end up needing you when you're powerful. But most importantly, Derek, I learned something my mother taught me that very same night, while we cried together on our couch, that the measure of a man isn't what he does when he has power over others. It's what he does when others have power over him. Derek looked up, confusion and hope warring on his face. Your resume says you're self-taught, that you've been coding for 3 years, that you built an app to help people budget their money because you watched your own family lose everything. Derek nodded slowly. That takes humility. Derek, growth. The kind of character that can't be bought or inherited. The kind that only comes from hitting rock bottom and choosing to climb instead of quit. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you this job. Not because you deserve it. Not because I'm trying to prove something. But because 15 years ago, a 10-year-old boy sitting in a puddle made a promise to himself. What promise? Derek whispered, that if I ever had power, I would never use it the way your father did. I would never make someone feel small just because I could. I would never let cruelty win. You're going to start in our entry-level development program. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. And you're going to learn what real success looks like, not the kind your father tried to buy for you, but the kind you earn. Marcus, I don't deserve this. No, you don't. But grace isn't about what we deserve. It's about who we choose to be when we have the power to hurt someone back. But Derek, hear me clearly. If you waste this opportunity, if you bring that old entitlement into my company, if you treat anyone here the way you treated me, you're done. Understood? Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. 6 months later, Derek became one of Marcus's best developers. A year later, he brought his father to the office. Mr. Thompson, gray-haired and broken, stood in front of the man he'd once mocked and apologized with tears in his eyes. Marcus shook his hand, forgave him, but never forgot, because some lessons are written in puddles and blood and laughter, and those lessons, once learned, can never be unlearned. Today, Marcus's company has a program that gives free coding education to underprivileged youth. Over 10,000 kids have graduated from it. Derek runs that program. And somewhere in Marcus's office, in a simple frame on his desk, is a photo, a 10-year-old boy in a muddy white shirt, standing next to his mother, both of them crying, both of them smiling, because that's the moment Marcus learned the truth that would define his entire life. Your worth is not determined by those who try to destroy you. Your character is not defined by what happens to you. Your destiny is not written by people who can't see your value. The mirror that hit him that day was meant to knock him down. Instead, it showed him exactly who he was meant to become. To every person who's been knocked down, laughed at, humiliated, or told they're not enough, remember this. The same hands that push you into the dirt can one day reach up asking for help. And when that day comes, you will have a choice. Will you become what hurt you, or will you become better than what broke you? Marcus chose grace, not because he deserved it, but because he did. And that made all the difference.